Hi, everyone. This is Diane. So today is a very exciting day because we are about to meet Tyler Mannino, and he owns TM Production, and we are about to talk about his journey overcoming some life challenges. So first off, I was wondering if you could tell us a bit about yourself and what you're currently working on, Tyler.
Sure. I'm an actor, filmmaker, entrepreneur. Um, as you said, I have my own film, television, video production company named TM Productions, which I started in 2014 when I was 19 years old. Um, been wanting to be an actor and filmmaker for pretty much my entire life. Ever since I was like 2 years old, that's always been a dream of mine. So I've just been working pretty much my entire life towards that goal.
And what are you currently working on?
So right now I'm currently working on a reality show that I'm both creating and starring in. It focuses on the lives of myself and my family. We shot a pilot for that in 2016, which that's a whole nother thing, that journey from then to now, which I'm sure we will get into. That's been a long road, but that's one of the things I'm most passionate about that I've been working on. And I also have some short films that I've written and will be working on as well.
Can you share a bit more about your background, what led you to entrepreneurship? Also, more specifically, what led you to starting TM Productions?
Yeah, so as I said, acting and filmmaking has always been a passion of mine ever since I was a real young kid. I think ever since I was two, and I've always like reenacted scenes from my favorite movies and TV shows when I was a kid. And so that's where, the acting sort of came from. The filmmaking was my grandfather actually taught filmmaking. He taught a filmmaking class at the one school he worked at. And so he kind of inspired me to get into that. And we would film like home videos and stuff together. And then when I was, I think 11, he was the one that kind of brought up the idea of starting my own production company one day. So that's kind of what initiated the idea. And then, as I said, when I was 19, I did it, and it's been this September. It'll be 10 years since I did that. So
I'm curious, what kind of thoughts were going through your mind? Because you're 19, you just graduated from high school probably, and you're starting your own production company. Like, you didn't wait.
yeah, yeah. Well, at that time, it was a very difficult. It was actually a very difficult time because I was going through a lot of medical issues. I have a bunch of chronic illnesses, and my, as you said, graduated high school. Well, I actually did not graduate high school. I actually had to drop out and get a GED, and because I missed so much school from dealing with all these medical issues. And for me, that was like, I thought my life was over at that point because I had always been a very good student, always got A's and B's, always was on the honor roll. So to have that happen where, you know, throughout most of my schooling, I always did very well. But when I was in middle school and then high school, it got even worse is when, I started developing these chronic illnesses, and to have to drop out, that just devastated me. So, starting my own production company was, yeah, I mean, it was I had always planned to do it, and I just kind of did it. I didn't really think too much. I mean, I did research, of course, how to do it, but yeah, at that time it was very difficult for me, and so I'm glad I did it when I did.
Would you say that the illnesses were some of your biggest challenges that you faced when you started your business, or were there other factors?
Yes, yeah, they were definitely the biggest challenge. I was also in college too, so trying to, juggle college and also trying to get a business off the ground while simultaneously dealing with these medical issues was definitely not easy. And till this day, I still struggle with them, and it's been very difficult to get. It's very difficult to get work done when they flare up. Yeah, it definitely has been a challenging road, but the way I always look at it is that, just like how there are multiple routes to get to the same destination, there's multiple paths to the same end goal. So, while certain things have not gone, you know, exactly how I thought they would, I still managed to reach that same end goal because just through pure hard work, perseverance, just refusing to give up, so many obstacles came up, and I just refused to let it keep me down. After high school, I did community college for a bit, then transferred to the branch campus of the college I always wanted to go to, and then finally transferred to the main campus. And it took me about 7 years to get my 4 year degree because of those medical issues. But at the end of the day, I still did it. And, I can say, hey, despite, what I went through, despite having to drop out of high school and get a GED, when people thought that after that, they thought it was over. They're like, you're never going to be successful after that. And it's like, well, I still managed to graduate from the college I always wanted to go to with the degree I always wanted.
Yeah, I totally relate to that. Now, like I've noticed you're a family person, so like
Mhm.
your family's always around you. It seems like you have a very supportive family. But I'm also curious, what does your inner circle look like?
Well, as you said, family's the biggest thing for me. I was born and raised into an Italian American family, so family is just it's the number one thing in life. Now that's my mom's side of the family. My dad, he left when I was two, so me and him haven't had the best relationship throughout my life, to put it mildly. But as for my mom and that side of the family, I mean, they've always been supportive of me throughout my entire life. And without them, I mean, I wouldn't be the man I am today, and I don't think I'd be anywhere. I mean, family's the most important thing. As for other people in my inner circle, I have some great people in my acting group that I'm a part of. And they are by far the most, wonderful and amazing and talented and supportive people I've ever met in my life. And for me, that was a big shock because I'm used to not dealing with that. I'm actually used to dealing with people who haven't been the greatest friends. Growing up with the morals and values I have, it's been difficult to try to find, like-minded people with those same morals and values. So I always struggled trying to, find and maintain friendships. But once I joined this acting group, everyone is just amazing. Some of the best people I've ever met.
I noticed on your site it says that you're currently training with a renowned actor. The way I interpret it is along your journey, your inner circle is it's going to change over
Yeah.
time, depending on your values, your morals, which I wanted to discuss a bit more to get to know them. And
Mhm.
then it also depends on your ability to adapt to certain situations. So
Yeah.
training with this actor, was this something that searching for, or was this something you applied for? Did you meet this actor through like your network, or how did that happen?
I don't know how much I don't know how much I can say because it kind of has to be on the down low because there's been
Right.
some like impersonators and people trying to scam others, but
I
it's
see.
basically it's an acting class, an acting workshop that's taught by an actor who was on the greatest TV show of all time. I don't know. I don't know how much more I can say beyond.
It's fine.
And I don't want to name drop because I'm not that type
Right.
of person. You
Right.
know, and I would have to check before I don't want to reveal anything if I'm not allowed to. So, but how I discovered that was I saw that he had an acting workshop. And I actually met him at a convention before and asked him about the workshop as well. But I saw online through social media that he had that, and I emailed and joined the workshop, and I've been in that for about 2 years now. And that has been, as I said, I mean, he's an amazing coach. Everyone in there is just a great person, and that's a testament to his ability to really find the right people and keep the right people in there. Because, especially in this industry, in the entertainment industry, there are a lot of a lot of selfish people that have no problem, screwing over other people or throwing other people under the bus to, pursue their own goals. And this is by far the most supportive group of people I've ever met in my entire life. And I can't praise them enough. It just, yeah, I have nothing but the best words for all of them. So that's definitely, honestly, that has been such a godsend in my life the past 2 years. I have no clue, where I'd be without it. And it's funny because if you told me, when I was younger and first saw that show that, in the future you'd be training under this person from the show, you're like, I don't think I would have believed it. So it is very interesting how things have worked out.
I was wondering when you joined this training and if you noticed your inner circle change during the
Yeah,
time that you were in it. And also, is this all still in Pennsylvania?
I do it through Zoom, but there is an in-person class elsewhere. Again, I'm trying to figure out how much
Right.
to say. But yeah, and my inner circle definitely has changed. I mean, like I said, I struggled finding and maintaining friends. So before this class came around, I really did not I really didn't have any friends that I still, had or kept in touch with. Because like I said, morals and values wise, things just did not match. And, that's a whole nother, I could go on forever about, the stuff that I've been through with friendships. But yeah, I mean, I had basically no inner circle other than my family before this class. And then now that I'm in the workshop, they're my inner circle. They really are. And the other members of the group, I call up and we chat about our day and talk about things. And it's just, and we have met in person a few times. We put on in-person showcases, and it's crazy how you meet these people and it feels like you've known them forever. It's just that everything, they're, the vibe, and everyone's just so positive and supportive. And it feels like, even though I've only known these people for 2 years, it feels like I've known them my entire life.
What are like some main qualities you look for when, you're interacting with someone new who could possibly become like, a friend down the line?
Yeah. Um, I mean, I think very, very basic things. I mean, I think just having respect, loyalty, being a good friend, very, very basic things that unfortunately I think a lot of people these days lack. A good moral foundation. I mean, it's really, yeah, loyalty, respect, just being a decent person, being there for me too. If I need you, I've often found that I'm the one that's always helping other people and being there for others. But unfortunately, that's not always reciprocated. So yeah. I mean, and it's tough. I grew up, like I said, in such a loving and supportive family, and so not that I expect other people to act that way, if they didn't have that, but like, just the type of person I am, as a very, very loyal person, a very good friend. I'd take a bullet for any one of my friends. That's the type of person I am. I'd give the shirt off my back for them. So, it's very hard and it's very rare to find find people like that these days.
Right. I think it goes back to values, what your values are right now, and
Hmm.
also, again, who you're surrounded, because like you were saying, you're surrounded with a loving family, and not everyone has, like, certain
Yeah.
areas of their life quite the same. So it could be like, that maybe it's not fully something that they're conscious of yet. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I see it.
Yeah. Yeah. There are some people that, I think do, backstab you intentionally, but then there are other people that, maybe they're just not really a good friend, but maybe they just really don't know how to be. But I think that, you get to a certain point where, at least I have, where I've dealt with just so much, negativity from these former friends in my life, and my life has been so much more positive since I finally, decided, hey, I'm not going back to that anymore. Because I would always, even after, having falling outs and whatnot, I would always still try to reach out, try to, rekindle the friendship. That's the type of person I am. And I just got to a point where it's like, nope, for my own well-being, I can't be around certain people. And there are other people too that maybe I am on decent terms with, but they're just not a good person to be in my life right now. And unless you're, again, the morals and values are one thing, but also to have the same or similar mindset, and outlook on life. And also, I think like interests and direction too are a big thing. It's hard to, I think it's hard to get along with people when you're just living like two completely different lives. So that's a thing too. It's not that you think you're better than the other people. It's just that you have to surround yourself with people that, you know, have a positive impact on your life. And if they're not, that maybe they're decent people, but the journeys are just completely different. They really, you know, you have to find people that lift you up instead of bring you down. If you're with anyone that drains your energy and they bring you down, you can't be around them. And it's like, it's nothing, it's not that I don't like you. It's just that, for my own well-being, for my own, mental health and success, I need to be surrounded by positive and supportive people. And some people just unfortunately don't fit in that. I think boundaries are a very important thing. And I've gotten to the point where I've kind of realized that, because like I said, like I'm a very open person. So, I would give too much of myself to other people. And I got to the point where it's like, no, you have to limit the access that people have to you. Um, but it's tough because, of course you don't want to be, a bad person, or you don't want to, like, just shoo these people away. It's just that, unfortunately, if you're on different paths, and just, I don't see how a friendship where you're on completely different wavelengths or paths can properly work.
You don't want to burn bridges.
Right.
So, you never know, because down the line, everyone changes over time. We all grow. You never know. Like maybe 5 years, 6 years from now, like maybe then we'll talk, you know?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. What were some old beliefs and mindsets that you had to let go of, and why?
I'll give one that off the top of my head. I always felt that I had to get back at people who did me wrong. That's just not a healthy way to live at all. It's better to just, let stuff roll off your shoulder, let karma take its, take over for you. That was a difficult one to let go. To bring up more about, my past and what I've gone through when I was, in school, I definitely, I dealt with bullying. And I hate even using that word, because that word like implies that, I was some sort of victim that couldn't stand up for myself. And that's not how I view it at all. I had people that just harassed me, and I tried my best to ignore it because, I didn't like, what, why bother? And then how messed up the school system is, when I did defend myself, then I got in trouble for it. But so I've dealt with that throughout my life too. So, I had to let go of whenever someone does me wrong, or, harasses or bullying me, I had to let go of the revenge, I guess. The best, I think it was, the quote's attributed to Frank Sinatra. I think he said it, but I'm not sure. I saw it on a meme. The best revenge is massive success. So that's the way that I sort of look at it. Anytime someone, does me wrong, or doubts me or anything, I use that as fuel and motivation to just keep working and do better.
What are like three words you use to describe the mindset you've developed to overcome these challenges?
The current mindset, or the previous one?
We could do both.
The current mindset, I'd say three words: wisdom, humility, um, and let's see, grateful. Because I think that you need to um, always be grateful for what you have and make do with what you have. I've always been so focused on success, and things that, you know, I don't have, that, sometimes you forget that you have to appreciate what you have, and just whatever you got, you got to make do with it. You have to utilize whatever you have, whatever cards you're dealt now, and use that right now. You can't wait. There is no waiting for the perfect moment. It doesn't exist. Or there is no waiting for, things to fall into place. You have to work with what you have, and you can try to attain more, but you can't just wait there, and expect things to just magically overnight, change for you. It doesn't work like that. Humility, I just think everyone needs to be humble. I think nowadays we live in a society where people are way more narcissistic, and way too selfish. And people oftentimes confuse confidence with um they confuse confidence with arrogance. Because confidence is a good quality to have. However, people don't realize that in order to be truly confident, you also have to be humble. You have to be humble to realize the things you're good at and the things you're not good at, and to realize, hey, I'm not a perfect person. There's always things I can do to improve. I think nowadays people have kind of twisted that, and they are a little arrogant and full of themselves, and a little delusional. They're like, oh, I have to be confident because it makes myself feel better. And it's like, no, you're acting more delusional and arrogant than confidence. You have to have the humility. That's the key. Um, and wisdom, because I've just learned a lot through all of my experiences in life. Of course there are regrets I have, and things that I wish I could change. But then again, do I really wish I could change those things? Because if I didn't go through that, and if I didn't make the mistakes I did, then I wouldn't have the wisdom I do now. So yeah, I think all three of those would be pretty good words to describe kind of my mindset now.
Okay. And then, did you still want to give us three words for your old mindset?
Oh, sure, sure. Um, oh man, it's hard to think. It's like it feels like a completely different person, just because of how much I've grown in all these years. It's like I feel like it wasn't even me, just because it's so different. I would say, like I said previously, the revenge factor. I felt like I had to, get people back for wronging me. So that was one aspect. trying to think of anything else. Anger. I mean, I was going through a lot at the time, so I was just very angry at people, at the world. I was never a bad kid, so like I don't want people to get that impression. No, I was going through a lot at the time, and I didn't have the tools at the time and the wisdom to know how to properly handle it. Unless you have I don't know. Do you have an idea of a third word? I can't
I
think
just
of a
met
third.
you.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know why I'm asking, but uh, it's hard to. I'll be honest. It's a little hard to remember just because it was so long ago. And things are just so different now. So it's weird to talk about that period of my life. It's like I'm looking. It's almost like I'm reading it from a biography and like not. The experience is not like I barely remember it. It's like I say it very like matter of fact because it's just been so long, and it's hard to imagine. It's hard to think because it really was a difficult time for me. So it's so weird to think back as to how difficult that was, back then, and it's like now it's like I barely even. I barely even think about it, but at the same time, it is part of what made me who I am. So
Yeah, I think it's a good thing, in a way that you forgot because it just means that you've outgrown it so much that, it doesn't
exactly,
matter.
exactly, yeah.
Can you share a specific moment that tested your resilience as an entrepreneur?
Fairly recently, actually, because I had, I started this production company with the intent to create my own movies and TV shows with it. But I also, the reality is you need money for that. And so I came up with the idea as part of the business plan, which is not a bad business model, by the way. It does make sense, but there's some caveats there, which I'll get to. I had gotten the idea to, okay, I will sell my own video services for people, like do commercials for businesses and whatnot, and then use the money I get for that to fund the projects I'm really passionate about. The problem with that is that you spend almost all your time trying to find clients, and then you end up dealing with people that, you know, it's just not a fun time to deal with. And you end up you also get a lot of like weird emails from people that are trying to like sell you their scripts and whatnot. And it's like I don't buy I'm not gonna buy your screenplay. I'm sorry. So it's like it was just a weird time. And I had gotten to the point where, I had a meeting with a potential client, and I had gone in, I had, a whole bunch of stuff planned out, and I asked, is there he was a restaurant owner, and so he was like still working, so I asked him, I said, is there a place we can sit? And he was just kind of like going back and forth, like barely even paying attention to me. It's like, you set up this meeting. I'm here to, talk to you, to go over, how we can move forward. And I just got, I felt very disrespected. And at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to bother with client work anymore. I'm going to focus. I was focusing on the wrong thing for a long time. I was focusing so hard on trying to get clients to make money to fund my projects that I ended up stop working on my projects. So at that point, that was kind of like, that was definitely a test for a while, because for a while it was hard to find clients. And especially, I was in college full time for most of the years the company was in existence. And then the pandemic hit. So it was very difficult to find clients. And then I think I eventually just got to the point where it's like, you know what? It's not for me. And I know it works for some people, and that's great. For me, it did not work out. And I still do, like, I still offer consulting services. So if someone wants like advice on their screenplay or video or whatnot, like I'll be more than happy to do that. But as for like doing video production for clients, it would have to be a very specific case and something I'd have to be very passionate about for me to do that. Just because it was just more of a headache than anything else.
Think this is something you can utilize in the future. So maybe it feels like you didn't, like my degree. It's something
Yeah.
like, you're like, right now, but then down the line, I think it will help you out. What does resilience mean to you?
Resilience means refusing to give up. No matter what happens, it's you just keep going. You keep working hard. You can't give up. And I'm living proof. There's been so many times when, so many obstacles in my way that seemed almost like an impossible task to accomplish. And I still, as I said, with college and whatnot, like, there was quite a few road bumps in that people were like, "Are you even going to finish your degree?" Like, and I still did. I even had like, even just getting into the program, the film program, that was like, there's an application process and like a GPA requirement and whatnot. And so even getting into that, people were like, "Oh, just do this other route. Just choose this other major." I was like, "No, I'm not going to." So stubbornness can actually be. I'm a very stubborn person. That can actually be pretty helpful. Obviously, you want to listen and take into account other people's advice, of course. But like, there are times when it's like, listen, you could have a bunch of people telling you one thing, and you refuse to give up. There are some obstacles where you have to take a different path, but there's other obstacles that you can just plow right through. So yeah, resilience. Sorry, I just went off on a tangent there, but resilience. Yeah, it's the absolute refusal to give up.
Right. I've had that experience too. And I think the way I view it now is there are people who it depends on their intentions,
Hmm.
right? Because they could be giving you solid advice. However, it could also be something that they're used to seeing, not
Right.
necessarily a solution. Because I think sometimes people want to dodge what they're not familiar with. They
Yeah.
want the security. Um, so yeah, adding to that, I think security, the need for security and constant need to know what's going on is something um, I don't think helps if you're trying to be an entrepreneur because it's filled with uncertainty.
It's yeah. That I mean, listen. There are some people that they want the security of like a typical job, and then there's other people that risk it all for a dream that no one can see but them, and that's what entrepreneurship is. And I think a lot of people are so used to the status quo and doing what the normal route is. And my life has been anything but normal. And nothing in my life has gone the way that it would typically go for, the average person. It's always been, a struggle, a difficult journey. That's just actually, now I think about it, when I was born, I almost died when I was born and I had to stay in the hospital for 10 days. So it's like I was born fighting for my life. And so I've just kept doing that throughout my entire life. I've just keep fighting.
I'm laughing because it's crazy because my mom, when she was carrying me, she was carrying a fibroid as well. And then after
Wow.
I was born, she she says that she caught a nurse trying to kidnap me
Oh my
because
gosh.
that's why we're
Oh my
entrepreneurs.
gosh.
That's what it takes.
Yeah, and thank God it didn't go that. I mean, can you imagine like how different life would be if something like that happened with you or with what happened if it gone the other way with me? Like, it's kind of crazy to think about how different things could have gone just at that moment too of like at our first when we're first born. That's crazy.
Right. Yeah, the way I see it is if like you were saying, if you are already experiencing uncertainty and you've already overcome it, then I think something like entrepreneurship isn't as intimidating anymore, you know,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
your mind is more open to that.
that's true. And people, people, I think, don't have the best idea of what it means to be an entrepreneur. They think about, oh, the freedom, you get to be your own boss. But the reality is you end up in many cases, you end up working way more than you would a typical, 9 to 5 job or something like that. Like the other day, I was editing something. I did it for 16 hours straight. I don't think I took, I think I only took, breaks to eat and go and use the restroom. That was it. But 16 hours straight, I was editing something. So yeah, but the one thing though is that you're more motivated to do that too. So I think that also helps. If it's your own business and your own, your own passion, I think that makes it a bit easier to work even harder and for longer. Um, but yeah, it's not easy. People think it's an easy path, and it's not. Especially in my case, I think too, entrepreneurship and starting your own business, if you're selling a product and service, is one thing. I'm in the entertainment and creative space, which is a whole nother, that's a whole nother category in and of itself that, I chose probably one of the most difficult career paths possible. So there's been a lot of people that have doubted my ability to achieve stuff because of how difficult the entertainment industry is. But so far I keep accomplishing everything I set out to do, and I'm not, as long as there's a single breath in my body, I'm never going to give up. I'm never going to stop, because I cannot live with myself if I don't accomplish everything I set out to do.
Do you have a team, or like do you delegate?
So, yeah, that's another thing that has been a struggle. So for the longest time, I actually didn't have anyone to help out. It's just been me. And then 2018, I met someone in college who helped me out a bit, worked for me for a bit, but then resigned before finishing his work. So that's been another thing too, trying to find people to hire and collaborate and work with. That's been a difficult thing. So it's been basically me for most of the time. Most of the other classmates I was in film school with, they're a lot of them are out of state or very far from where I live. So even if, I don't really know too many people in my area in my field. So that's definitely difficult. I actually, someone just reached out to me the other day, through Instagram. He messaged me. I guess he met me at the one nightclub I go to. And he said that, he does filming and editing, and wanted to network. And I said, hey, I'm glad you reached out, because I really don't know of anyone around here. So yeah, that's been another struggle, trying to put a team together to accomplish stuff. So yeah, it's been mostly me, and it's been a bunch of different things that have sort of made it difficult for to get even the projects off the ground. I had the medical problems, that I was in college, then the pandemic hit, then I had not no one to help out. So it's I've been on my own doing it for the longest time. But I think you need to find a good team. You need to find people to delegate to, because I know my own strengths and weaknesses, and I know what I can do and what, I I may be able to do, but maybe not, I'm not the best at. So I'd like to delegate that to other people. But unfortunately, that's something that I'm still trying to find, is that team.
Why is resilience important for day-to-day life? It kind of touches on what we discussed earlier, where we were talking about it seems like there's a shift in values these days,
Hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
can you talk about why resilience is so important for our viewers out there?
Yeah. I mean, because without it, I mean, what else are you going to do? Are you gonna just sit there or lay there and just let life, keep you down. I mean, you could, but you'd just be wasting away. I can't do that. And listen, I struggle with, as I said, I struggle with numerous chronic medical issues that make it very difficult. Like I have basically next to no energy a lot of the times. I have a sleep disorder. I have chronic fatigue. You know, those are just some of the things. I won't get into everything I deal with, but you know, just those off the bat, like it's a struggle for me to, you know, sometimes even get out of bed each day. But I still do it because what am I going to do? Just, you know, lay there and just waste my. I can't do that. I can. I don't know if other. I don't know how people can live with themselves if they just allow, you know, allow life to get them down. Well, we're all dealt a certain hand in life, and what matters is what you do with that hand. You know, some people have it better than others. Listen, there's people that have it way worse than me. I'm not. I don't want anyone feeling bad for me. That's not why I'm you know, saying this stuff. You know, hopefully there's other people out there that maybe can relate and also are able to get some inspiration and motivation in hearing my story. But listen, there's people that have it way worse and still manage to do it to succeed. Our one of our members of our acting group, she unfortunately recently passed away. I didn't know her too well, but she struggled with cancer. But she was still working. You know, she was still achieving her goals and working towards them. Even with dealing with cancer, you know, can you imagine that? Like, you know, you have to have resilience no matter what. You have to have it. You know, without it, you can't live through life. You know, simple as that.
For me, I used to have a mindset like that, you know. My mindset wasn't always the same as it is now.
Mm.
So I totally relate to people who probably feel like, there's overwhelm and, they're not sure of how to go about things. But
Yeah.
to add to that, uh, speaking from experience, once you figure out the direction you're going, that mindset goes away real quick. When you figure out what your values are
Hmm.
and like, once you connect with people who are like-minded, going towards the same direction, I think it totally shifts your perspective, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And you know, listen, it's not easy. It's not. I still struggle with it, and I think that's like I don't. There is no cure all. You know, there is no, I guess, specific answer other than you just gotta deal with it. You got to deal with what you got and try to improve it. Every life is a work in progress. It is constant work. There is no like secret formula to success where, oh, you hit this metric, or you reach this certain level and then everything just becomes easier. You know, it's well, maybe for like the ultra wealthy, you know, I don't know, but you know, life is a constant struggle. It's a constant journey. You constantly have to be working, and it's not. Again, I don't have all the answers. I'm still dealing with it. I still struggle with you know, my own things, and it is hard to keep. It is hard to keep going when you're so used to life knocking you down. And I've experienced that because I swear it's like every time I'm about to create something or work towards my goals, something always happens that goes wrong. You know, and that's unfortunately that's just life. But you just got to keep moving forward. It happens.
But boy, is it good when we reach the other side, isn't it, Tyler?
It is different, even with the, as I said, even with the correct mind frame and mindset, it is still very difficult. Like the struggle doesn't end. You just kind of learn to deal with it and to keep working towards it, your goals. But yeah, it is difficult, especially, you know, with people who are constantly kicked down by life. You know, I've experienced some of that, and it's hard to keep going when that happens. But there, like I said, the way I am, you just got to keep going forward no matter what. So my internal clock is completely different than everyone else's. So like my normal sleep schedule is going to bed at like 4 to 5 in the morning and waking up at like 2 to 3 in the afternoon. That's my normal. If that gets screwed up, it's not good. I could be like my sleep schedule could be screwed up for like a week or more if that gets disrupted. So that's another thing. That's another thing too. I can't really operate in the mornings that well because that's when I'm sleeping and I'm up till 4 a.m. So those are two of the main ones because they affect my energy. They affect, as I said, they've affected my schooling. Caused me to get GED and caused me to take 7 years to get my 4 year degree. But I also, I struggle with also anxiety and depression. And I don't talk about that too often because I think that's another thing where I think a lot of people tend to self-diagnose themselves with that these days. And like, so I I tend not to talk about it because I don't like um I don't perceive myself as some sort of victim and I don't use it as an excuse to not get stuff done. Plus it's also not like I mean it does have like physical ramifications, but it's not like something that you can necessarily physically see. So it is difficult to like discuss that as well. And yeah, I mean, that's difficult. I mean, if you're feeling, down and depressed about life, it's difficult um, to move forward with that. But that's why I'm a big proponent of, therapy and finding the right therapist. I think that's been great. I've been seeing the same therapist for 16 years now, and that has been a tremendous impact and help. Of course, that's a trial and error process. Same with medication. It's all trial and error. You're not always going to get the right fit for a therapist and medication. That's a dangerous thing, which I won't get into, but there's side effects and other things with all of that. But you got to do whatever you can to make yourself better. You can't let life happen to you. You have to be an active like participant in your own life. You can't just take what happens to you. You have to go out and do things on your own. And yeah, you're going to get a ton of obstacles thrown at you, but you're going to have to figure out how to bulldoze through them or navigate around them.
I don't know if you've seen any of my content, but I posted stuff recently, like, talking about my story as well. I experienced anxiety and depression for 19 years. So,
Hmm.
like, I thought of it as a testimony because the way I see it is there needs to be some balance here. I'm not saying necessarily me as a spokesperson, but
Yeah,
at least there has to be some testimony. Like, don't you want to hear stories from people who went through it and what they have to say?
I talk about my issues as a matter of fact, and I don't use it as an excuse or anything like that. I'm just speaking, realistically, and I don't want to be, you know, attached to those issues because that doesn't define who I am. It's like I struggle. There's people that have worse struggles than me. It's life.
What is a calculated risk, and why is it important to respond rather than react in dicey situations?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's very important because you never want to react on impulse and through emotion. You always want to, and this is tricky because I think people get decision paralysis where like they're trying to figure out what decision to make, so therefore they end up making like no decision at all. Because like they're trying to figure out which route to go. But yeah, you have to analyze you know, all of the potential outcomes, the positives, the negatives, anything that could possibly happen. You never want to react like out of emotion or out of, you know, right off the bat as soon as something happens. You'll get yourself, trust me, you'll get yourself into some major trouble. I speak from experience. You'll get yourself into some major trouble if react that way. So you always want to analyze everything, but I think also it's important to to actually make a decision. And if you make the wrong one, then you know what? It's a learning experience, but, and I myself struggle with it sometimes where I'm like, I don't know which path to go, but you just got to make a decision. And what happens, happens, and you learn from it if it doesn't work out. But you definitely don't want to have a knee jerk reaction. That's for sure.
Right. What do you like say to yourself, or how do you process like moments where like you feel like you're being tugged in different directions? How do you keep your cool?
Yeah, that's difficult. I still struggle with that. It's I think it helps to have people to talk to vent to, but you have to find outlets to, you have to find ways to release your emotions, to release your stress, and also try to remain calm. That's probably one of the best things is to remain calm and not don't get all worked up over stuff. Um, that's a hugely important thing because there are some people that are so like, something happens and they get all worked up over it. And you never want to do that. That just causes more stress. You want to stay calm, cool, collected. There are multiple, avenues for people to, get help. If they're struggling with something, like I said, talking to someone, doing an activity, maybe you want to go work out, go to the gym or something, take a walk. You got to find certain activities um, to release those emotions and to relax and not get stressed out. But I'm saying this, and someone who still struggles with that. Like I get stressed out a lot constantly. So, something I'm definitely still working on.
I think when you've gone through like situations that maybe you didn't have clarity on in the past, it does feel good to have some sort of validation. But I think in the long term, of course, it doesn't help because now you have the validation, but I don't think it should be worn like a badge of honor.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, people got to remember too, like no one's perfect, so you got to look at what you did wrong. That's another thing too. You have to be conscious about what the mistakes you're making, and not just seek validation for your feelings. You got to be aware that hey, you may have these feelings, but it's that's not an excuse to act a certain way or react a certain way. Um, yeah, you got to take account. That's one of the biggest things missing this day and age is people taking accountability for their own actions.
Right. And although it sounds like, we went off down a whole different trail,
Yeah.
actually, I think from personal experience, I think when you're going through, say, a very difficult situation or something like entrepreneurship, you definitely need to be decisive, one. And
Hmm.
two, you need to be able not to seek validation from other people because ultimately you're going to have to be able to make that decision and not depend so much on others at times.
100%. And if you depend on anyone, you'll always be disappointed. That's the unfortunate thing. You have to learn how to be self-reliant and do as much possible as you can yourself. Of course, there are times when, you want to hire people and delegate tasks and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's like it's hard, but can't rely on other people for your own validation or for your own happiness or anything.
As in, like, the things that are within your boundaries is not something you expect others to fulfill for you, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you manage fear, doubt, uncertainty, and setbacks?
As I said, I think it goes back to resilience and just refusing to give up and fear and doubt. I mean, it's tough because everyone kind of goes through that, but like I don't. There have been times when I have not had that, and then something will happen that kind of shakes my world up, and I'm like, oh, now I kind of do doubt a little bit. What's going to happen? Like what happened with my education. You know the getting the GED, the taking forever to graduate college, that, I definitely had doubt. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, what's going to happen now? Graduating college, as I said, that happened right in the pandemic. So I was like, at that point, all of my plans, what I had planned to do, were completely shattered. I had planned to, after college, I was going to move to either LA or New York to pursue, my career. I absolutely refuse to go to those places now with how bad they've gotten. But it's, yeah, so my entire world was kind of just shattered, and I had to figure out, like, oh, what am I going to do now? But I think what helps with fear and doubt is looking at what you have succeeded on. And I think what helps me is that, anytime I do have that, I wouldn't say the fear that I have is not being successful. So, I guess fear and doubt kind of go hand in hand with that, and the doubt of whether I will or not be. But for me, what has helped is looking back at what all I have achieved so far, because 100%, I am not where I would like to be. I'm always striving to be further along in life and in my career. So I think what helps me is that I look back at my successes and I try to remember that. And I try to remember, hey, you've gotten through a whole bunch of things before. You'll get through this just like the others. When you're inside of whatever rut you're going through, it seems impossible, but whenever you get out of it, you'll realize, you're like, oh, okay, and you'll learn there's a silver lining to everything, and you'll learn a lesson from it as well. Um, but yeah, it's you got to look at what you have achieved so far, and give yourself more hope and motivation from that.
Any advice you want to give to any entrepreneur watching this interview right now?
100%. Uh, Never give up on your dreams, no matter what people say. Never give up. Always work hard towards them. Um, don't let anyone tell you that something is impossible, because I'm living proof that you can pull off feats that people thought were impossible. So as long as you work hard, you are resilient, you learn to adapt to what happens with life. Uh, you should be pretty successful. And also, I also want to stress: be a good person. That I just in general, I think that's along with, you can be successful and whatnot, but do it the right way. Don't you know don't screw people over in business. Don't try to scam people or anything. You want to be successful, you want to be an entrepreneur, do it the right way, do it ethically and morally.
What are three big reasons why finding the right community is so important? And how do you go about finding the right community?
Ooh, that's a tricky one. Yeah, I mean, it's important for to have networking, to have support around you, and also positivity. How you find it, you got to go out and try to find whatever you possibly can. I mean, it's again, that is something that I did find my acting group, which has been great. But you know, locally, I still struggle to find a good group of people. So I think you just got to go out there. You got to put yourself out there. That's a big thing. You cannot sit at home and do nothing. You have to put yourself out there. Go try to find groups of like-minded people, of something that, a shared common interest. Either it's an entrepreneur group, or a church group, or an activity, something. Just try to find something. You got to put yourself out there. You cannot sit back and expect everything to just work out. It doesn't work that way. You have to go and find your community. They're not going to find you.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Tyler.
Yes, no problem. Thank you for having me.